Hello and welcome. I'm glad you're here. I'm Linda Kroll, and I'd love to know in the comments if you could hear me. And if you have anything you want me to know throughout this whole presentation, please put it in the comments and I'll get back to you with an answer. So why ever you're here, whether it's something you need to know for your own relationship, or you work with individuals or couples who are considering divorce, I want to give you the benefit of my 35 years of experience as an IFS therapist, a mediator, and attorney, author of the book Compassionate Mediation for Relationships at a Crossroads, How to Add Passion to Your Marriage or Compassion to Your Divorce. And I'm also a Chopra Certified Teacher of Meditation, Yoga, and Ayurveda. So today we're going to blend emotional and spiritual healing along with some legal and financial information. So again, whatever the reason you're here, let's get started because I have so much to share. So what we're going to do today is talk about what Albert Einstein says. And what Albert Einstein says is men marry women hoping they'll never change. Women marry men hoping to change them. And inevitably, they're both disappointed. So take a moment and think about your relationship. You may have some disappointments, and you may have from time to time thought of divorce. And there are many, many people who have thought of divorce more often than you might realize. And sometimes they think about it for years and sometimes decades. And often they put off the thought because there's a holiday coming up, or New Year's coming up, or Valentine's Day, or Mother's Day, or Father's Day, or school is starting. So whenever you postpone learning what you can learn, today is going to help inform you, enlighten you, and empower you to know that you don't have to feel stuck. You'll get some information, and then you can benefit from that and move forward based on the highest good for all concerned. Because a lot of times I've noticed people stay in relationships when they should leave, or leave when they could stay, the other way around. They just don't know how to communicate. So what we're going to do now is to create a way to communicate and get all the information you need. So what is your story? I told you a little bit about me. I'll tell you more. But basically, what do you want? Do you really want a more intimate relationship and you're feeling hopeless so that you feel you can't get what you need out of your relationship? Are you feeling that you want a respectful separation? You possibly want a peaceful divorce? What is motivating you to begin to make changes in your relationship? Because a lot of times you might not be sure, and other times you might vacillate. You think you want to leave, you think you want to go, you want your partner to change, you're going to grin and bear it, but you don't have to. You can make changes starting today. You don't have to sit and wonder and be on opposite sides of the house, of your hearts, of your family. You might be making these mistakes. You might be masking your feelings with busyness, food, alcohol, drugs, or other avoidant tactics. You might be suffering from sleep problems, stress-related illnesses, or any other physical symptoms. Are you denying how the tension in your home is affecting everyone in your family, including your children, if you have children? Are you secretly having an affair, emotional or otherwise? And are you considering leaving but staying out of fear? You don't have to do any of that. We can understand that we all get grumpy from time to time, and the other person may not understand. But inside, we're all feeling a yearning to connect. No matter how we're avoiding each other or angry, there's always an inner child, an inner bride and groom that are yearning to rekindle what you've lost. And you can do that. Because I believe families need not be broken, but can be peacefully and respectfully restructured. So what we're going to do is talk about how to do that. I'll tell you a little bit about my story. I told you my professional qualifications, but personally, I married my college sweetheart. We were married for 20 years, happily. And then we got to a place where we got stuck. We had some irreconcilable differences. We tried marriage counseling. And at the time, there were only two choices. You stayed married and stuck it out, or you got divorced. So I stayed stuck for a very long time. And I went to counseling. I went to counseling with him, but it still wasn't helping because there was nowhere that I could go to talk about what would it be like if I got divorced? What would he need to do? What would I need to do? What would our lives look like? And that's why when we did separate for a very long time and we finally got divorced, unfortunately, in the typical adversarial way, that I was sitting in the courtroom across from my soon-to-be beloved ex-husband, the man who was there promising to love me forever and vice versa, the man who was there when our children were born. And we were sitting with such pain that I realized there had to be a better way to get divorced. And so with all of my personal experience and my professional training, I created compassionate mediation. And that's what I want to share with you today. Because when I had my benefit of being a lawyer, a mediator, an IFS therapist, and went to the Chopra Center to round out the spiritual education, I put it all together in my book, Compassionate Mediation for Relationships at a Crossroads. And what compassionate mediation does, it helps individuals and couples to address your emotional, spiritual, financial, and legal issues so that you can gain insights and skills to decide if you want to restructure your relationship or separate. I always tell my clients it's not about fixing the relationship you're in. It's about creating a new one based on who you both are now and what you want and need. And if you have to leave early, you can get a free chapter of the book at lindacrowbook.com. And again, post anything you'd like so I can follow along and answer your questions. Often, partners don't talk with each other, they talk at each other instead of listening with empathy. Do you know what that feels like? One of you is ranting, the other is deflecting, defending, rationalizing, excusing, ignoring. That doesn't work. So what can you do instead? What you can do instead is learn some skills that we're going to talk about today that helps any conflict to be resolved as you move forward in whatever you need to know. We're going to talk about how to compassionately communicate, how important empathy is, what your options could be. It's not black or white, stay or go, and how to make decisions from your highest and best self. Wayne Dyer has said that when we change the way we look at something, what we look at changes. So that means if we're looking with walls around our heart and filters through which we judge our partner and ourselves, what we're looking at is a skewed vision of who they really are. But when we're in our higher self, we can see more clearly. Is take the opportunity to speak from your highest self with empathy for your partner so you can begin a whole different dialogue. So that's what we're starting right now. How do you speak from your highest self with empathy for your partner and yourself and begin a whole new dialogue? Because when you practice empathy, it is a new way to communicate. You relate from your highest self with compassion and understanding. So what is your highest self? I'm an IFS therapist, and Dick Schwartz has taught us in family internal systems that there's 8 C's in self. We're calm, clear, compassionate, confident, connected, courageous. We're creative, and we're curious instead of being angry, walled, and defensive. So imagine if you brought more of these qualities, including gratitude, into your current relationship and see what would happen then. And here's what my clients have said. They've seen significant improvements in their relationship. They've either had a compassionate divorce or an entirely new marriage. They can do their conversations mindfully, no matter what their relationship looks like. And they can have peace and hope and let go of their destructive patterns to love all parts of themselves, even the parts that are wondering if they should stay or go. And they can move forward with peace and strength. So that's what I want for you. So to do that, you have to allow some forgiveness. And the reason you have to allow for forgiveness is if you don't, you're going to stay stuck in your own anger and resentment. So I want to help you begin a dialogue with your partner about everything, even starting today. Take a deep breath with me here. Just think about all the ways you have been withholding, denying, suffering, biting your tongue, yelling, withdrawing, withholding. Think of all the ways you've avoided having a dialogue. And part of the reason is because you've come from some of your reactive parts. He does something, she does something, you do something else, she does something else, and you're locked in some dysfunctional patterns. That can change today. Because when you begin a dialogue, you can talk about everything. Oh, there will be a way to get a copy of this event, and there's going to be a way to get all the information that I'm putting in the event. So I'm so glad you're here, and I will show you how to get that. So thanks, Daryl. So what I want to invite you to do is begin a dialogue about what you want to change financially. How are you sharing the burden? Have you ever created a budget? But I want to help you talk about it in a way that's empathetic. Because if you're being demanding, judgmental, reactive, it's not going to go well. You've already done that. You can also talk about your parenting and the rules you each want to have for your children and the responsibilities you want to take about everything. And what kind of support are you looking for from your partner? Now, this may feel like a daunting task to sit down with this list. So I don't want you to do that, but I want you to take it a breath at a time. And after this session, see what tools you'll have to use now. You can even talk about sex, okay? Because often when you've been angry, when you've been sad, when you've been hurt, things cool down in the bedroom. And when you look at what is going on between the two of you, how do you feel? Are you being withholding? Are you being judgmental? What do you need that you're not asking for? And what does your partner need that you may not know? So you can, I wouldn't say begin with sex, but you can cover that. Now, a couple caveats. If there's abuse in your home, in your relationship, find a safe place and get out. Emotional abuse often comes from some of our reactive parts. We yell, we judge, we say things we don't mean. But if you're in any danger of physical abuse, find a safe place and get out. If there's addiction, find out what you can do to heal yourself. I work with many clients and their partners are addicts, and they think I have to stay and resent and be angry and be hurt, or I have to leave. I don't want to. I don't know what else to do. First thing to do is get yourself to an Al-Anon meeting, because you need to do your own healing. You need to know that you are powerless over changing your partner, but you can change how you react to the addiction. And remember, addiction is a disease. It's not a moral failure. You can tap into a higher power. If it's God for you, then God, but otherwise it can be the other people in the meeting who know exactly what you're feeling. And you turn your will, that ego, that codependent need to fix, save, and rescue. You turn that will over to your higher power. The comment, let go and let God, is there for a reason, because we can't change someone else, but we can change how we relate to someone else. And take your own inventory, meaning, how are you being judgmental, demanding, withholding, holier than thou, hypervigilant, and get help for yourself. So it doesn't mean you have to get divorced, but you do have to get help in order to heal your heart. Now, if there's been an affair, which often makes people come to me wanting a divorce, I have some clients now where their partners either had an affair or having an affair, have given up the affair. But when there's an affair, you can heal from it. The person who's done the betrayal has to be willing to be transparent, has to be end whatever the affair has been, and has willing to be kind of in the doghouse, so to speak, until trust is rebuilt. So you can heal. But the person who has been betrayed has to be able to forgive and trust again. And also look at what led up to the affair. It doesn't justify the affair, but it helps you move forward to heal your relationship so that there is no temptation ever again to look outside the marriage for what each partner needs. But to be willing to discuss all of this, it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of compassion. And just remember, though, and I have found in my own life and in my clients' lives, that wherever your heart is broken, it can be stronger in the broken places. So don't give up if there has been an affair. You can heal from that. Okay, let's take a breath. Deep breath, because I'm sure as I'm mentioning all these possibilities, you're being triggered on some level. You're either being anxious or overwhelmed. And I just want to give you a moment to take your breath because there's so much more I want to share. And again, if you're looking at the replay, I want to ask you to get in touch with me. I'll send you the replay and you'll have all the information. And at the end of this session, I'm going to give you a lot of free gifts and free resources that you can use now. So let's start with this. Having the courage to talk about an ending can lead to a new beginning. And here's why. I've been a marriage counselor for 35 years and a mediator. But I find that in marriage counseling, if someone has one foot out the door or has thought about a divorce, they're ambivalent about marriage counseling. They're not fully invested. They're not really present. So what compassionate mediation does is give you a safe forum to talk about all your parts, meaning the parts of you that are hurt and sad and scared, the parts of you that are angry or withholding or judgmental, and most of all, the parts of you who have thought about ending the relationship. Because when you bring that conversation into counseling, you can go deep into what each person needs. And you can also talk about, if you did end, what would it look like to create a new beginning? And that's what we're going to talk about, both of those. Because a lot of people who have used this process build an entirely new marriage. Like I said, it's not about fixing or saving the dysfunctional patterns that you've created or putting a Band-Aid on them. It's really about deciding who you are now, what you each want and need from your highest self to truly create the relationship you desire and deserve. And then sharing that conversation with your partner to see if he or she is on the same page. If you are, you create a new marriage. If you're not, you can create a peaceful and respectful separation or divorce. Because you can learn a few details. We're going to talk about them today. We can take a look at your current situation. I want to mention a post-nup. Sometimes you can, like a prenuptial that sets the stage before you get married for what you want and need. A post-nuptial agreement allows you to decide how you're going to talk about your assets, what decisions you're going to make. Should you get separated or divorced, what can you agree to now? So you can do a post-nup if you want to create a legal document. You can separate without any legal information. Just go to your own corners in your own house, find different places to be, nest, come and go with your children. You can get legally separated. And a legal separation is very similar to a divorce, but it has a couple pros with it. Number one, you can stay on each other's insurance, car insurance, health insurance. Number two, you can divide your assets. So should you get divorced, your assets are protected. So you can separate without any legalities. You can get a legal separation. You can do a post-nup and you can get a divorce. But you can look at all these issues now so that you don't have to get divorced to learn what you need to learn. We can talk about what would it take to create a budget and get a budget form, which I can send you. How do you look at the joint property that you're owning and see how you can both feel like equal partners in making those decisions? If you should separate or divorce, you need to talk about maintenance and get a handle on how could you live? Where could you live? What would you do with the assets and the income? And you have to talk about parenting and child support. But take a breath with me here, because you can talk about all of that now without having to file for divorce and get the information you need to begin conversations that are filled with understanding and empathy and allow you to create something new. I have a compassionate mediation program I'll tell you about later, but it talks about emotional and spiritual healing, what to do with the physical, house, children, assets. It goes over legal information, financial information. I'm going to give you a taste of it now, but mostly I want to give you some tools you can take away today. So we're going to talk a little bit about income, assets, and debts. And what that means is most people don't know if they sat down, what's their income. And it's each partner's earnings, your salary, your bonus, and any other income, dividends, stock, bonuses, everything else is part of your income. Your assets, you can make a list of your assets so you're both on the same page. Your house, your retirement funds, any stocks and bonds. Any non-marital assets, gifts that you received, inheritance, other real estate besides the house, your cars, your furniture and furnishings. You don't have to do this. I'm just suggesting that at some point it makes sense to be informed in your current relationship, not just your assets, but your debts. What's your house worth? What's your mortgage on it? Do you have a line of credit? What's your credit card statements, your car loans, student loans, loans to others? Once you get a handle on your income, your assets, and your debts, you become informed, and you need to be informed. I have many people that I'm working with right now, and they're feeling vulnerable because they're not sure if they want to stay or go. But most of all, they don't know what their financial situation is. Either their partner has been in charge of it, they've deferred that behavior and caretaking. So just getting on the same page is very helpful, because many times finances are a source of conflict. You spend too much, he or she doesn't agree with your choices. So there's a way to individuate and get autonomous voices in terms of your partnership. And it starts with knowing what your income, your assets, and your debts are. Should you decide to get a legal separation or a divorce, you look at the total property that you have. What's community property in some states? Some states give you a 50-50 split, but some states, like Illinois, have equitable distribution. Well, they'll look at a set of relevant criteria. Who's earning more money? Who has the children? What's the health of each person? What's their future earning capacity? And they can divide assets and debts along with marital and non-marital allocations and find out who's going to get what in the future. And that equitable distribution means that what's fair to one may not be fair to the other. But there's a lot of different ways to divide assets, and based on relevant criteria, who gets what and how much are you each going to end up with, you can get a sense of what you're going to end up with. Now I'm going to just come present for a moment and take a breath with you, because this information is part of what you need to know if you want to get divorced. But more importantly, right now, put your hand on your heart. And if you're here for your own sake, just ask, what do you really want? Because if you want a divorce just because you're afraid that you're not being respected, you're not getting enough attention, affection, appreciation, and acceptance, those 4 needs of the heart, and you're thinking, the only way I'm going to get it is to get divorced. And the only way I'm going to be happy is after I get divorced. So I want to help you turn this around. You have to get happy, peaceful, self-led first, and then you decide what you want to do. So as I give you this information, I don't want to overload you. I just want you to know that it's available to you when you're ready to take a look at it. But ask yourself, what is in the way of your indecision personally? Is it not knowing about finances? Is it worry about your children? Is it loving your house? Is it missing the extended family? Is it the sadness, the fear, the overwhelm? I feel it for you. I've been there with you. For 35 years, I've helped individuals and couples feel the way you're feeling, and then come out of it with more hope, because you are going to learn a new way to communicate. I've got a gift called the Miracle of Empathy. I'll show you later, where you learn to listen to each other in a different way. You learn to hear the words the other is saying, and the words they should be saying are sad, hurt, and scared. Not judgments of you, but their feelings, and your feelings, hurt, sad, and scared. And the other party can listen to your words, understand them, and make the amend, and then request a behavior change. That can all be done with empathy. So the hardest part about deciding what to do is getting to your higher self. We exile certain parts that have been hurt, sad, and scared. We manage in different ways with parts of us that know how to be codependent, nice, pleasing, caretaking, hardworking. But we often put on what I call a pseudo self, where we look like we're in self, but we're really feeling sad and scared and hurt and angry underneath, but we're not talking about it. So when we can't manage the hurt, sadness, and fear that we're feeling, we act out in certain ways. We get extreme. eat too much, drink too much, all those ways that we can mistakenly try to cope. We stay busy, go have an affair, get drunk, all different ways to get extreme because we can't manage the feelings that we're exiled. So take a deep breath with me here. And connect to that self inside of you, where, as Rumi says, we're the drop in the ocean, but we're also the ocean in the drop. So when we come from our higher self, that calm, clear, compassionate wisdom inside of us, we can help our parts heal. We can speak for them instead of from them, and we can begin to make a difference. So one of my clients knows that her husband is having an affair, and she's not sure what to do about it. So she came to me set on getting a divorce. And after doing her own healing and having some conversations between the two of them, they're now deciding what they're going to do. And they're taking the time they need to heal themselves first, and then heal the relationship. Because you could get divorced tomorrow. But if you don't take the time to learn a new way to communicate, you're still going to be locked in the same patterns. And when you learn compassionate communication, you learn how to connect to your highest self, let go of your limiting beliefs and judgments about your partner, about yourself. You unburden the pain from the past, so you're not regurgitating it or projecting it into the future. You're staying present, and you learn how to relate from your heart. And that's all part of this process. Imagine what that would be like if you brought calm, compassionate curiosity to your current situation, where you listened with empathy to the deep feelings of your partner, the hurt, the pain, the sadness, and began to have a dialogue where healing can happen. That's what I want for you. That's what I want to offer. But in addition, I'm going to offer a few more of the facts of the legal information and just give you an opportunity to get informed and then show you how to work more with that. So the relevant criteria that I mentioned earlier is how would you divide assets, whether you're getting legally separated, whether you're getting a divorce. And in many states, there's not regard to marital misconduct. So you can't file for divorce because your husband or wife is having an affair. It won't matter. Usually irreconcilable differences is the best way to go. And certainly if you're mediating, which is always my hope for you, is that you mediate with a mediator. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And the relevant criteria, again, include your age, health, amount and sources of income, non-marital assets, future earning ability, and who will have the children. So let me talk for just a minute about what your options are. First of all, get some counseling. Get some counseling for yourself. See what's making you wonder if you should stay or go. Why have you been thinking of divorce? Then look at how you've communicated and learn how to communicate better. You can do that as an individual and take those skills back to your relationship. You can get marriage counseling, which is often very helpful, especially once you've done your own work, to come from your highest self and allow your partner to learn how to do that too. If you choose to separate, like I said, you can just make decisions for your living arrangements, for your finances, for your children together. But I still suggest you work with someone who, like me, can help you navigate what it would take to create a new relationship and what it would take to create a new marriage. Because often in a separation, as you individuate, as you relate with empathy, you can look at your partner and say, oh my goodness, I didn't realize that heart was still available to me. And you can come back together and start again with a new relationship. That if you're going to do a legal separation or a divorce, you will need attorneys. But again, please mediate. And the reason I'm saying mediate, there are different ways to divorce. Unfortunately, mine was an adversarial divorce many years ago. I had an attorney, he had an attorney. We tried mediation, but we ended up in court with all the pain, the money, the losses, the hurt that it entailed. When you work with a mediator, you both work with someone who's going to help you get divorced. When you work with me or someone who knows compassionate mediation, divorce is one option, but so is a new relationship. And when you talk about all the issues that have divided you, but you do it from your higher self, without the judgments, without the pain, from your heart, with compassion, you often create a new relationship and can build an even better union than the one you had before. So mediation is an option. There's also litigation, which is what I did. There's collaborative divorce, where you each need your own collaborative attorney. And the four of you, you and your partner and their attorneys, meet together. But when you've signed a collaborative agreement, the attorneys, if it goes to court, if collaboration breaks down, your attorneys won't be there anymore. So in mediation, especially compassionate mediation, nobody has to file for divorce. You just continue to talk with each other, and sometimes even with your attorney present. There have been times I've been on a Zoom with 2 clients and their attorneys, and the 5 of us work together as a team to create the best situation in the highest good for all concerned. So if you're using a collaborative attorney, it breaks down. If you're using a compassionate mediator, in terms of compassionate mediation, it covers all bases. And if you want to just, I never suggest there's only one attorney, because if there's one attorney, an attorney can only represent one of you, can't represent both of you. So the other party would be representing themselves. But when you do compassionate mediation, you use your attorneys outside of the session or inside if there's an impasse, but you don't have to file for divorce until you agree to things. Otherwise, when you litigate a divorce, there's usually a filing by the one who's the petitioner, and then the respondent has 30 days to file a response with an attorney. Then the courts are involved with court dates and status calls and things like that. But in compassionate mediation, you don't have to do that. You can just keep on communicating until you reach an agreement. If you're going to separate, you do have to talk about maintenance, and it's often based on need and ability to pay. They change the amount and length of time. Sometimes it's by statute, based on how many years you've been married. It can be modifiable or non-modifiable. It can terminate. It can be reviewed. It can be allocated as part of child support or not. It's usually taxable to the recipient and can be paid by either party to the other. So it's not just the man paying the woman. The woman could also give maintenance to her husband. Deep breath here. We're going to talk about the house. And the house is often the most difficult situation to think about, because I often say that in a relationship that's having problems, you can give up on the partner, you can give up on the relationship, but giving up the dream is the hardest. And the house represents that. It represents truly ending the relationship, the impact it has on your children. But there are different ways to talk about it and think about it. But you take your time. You don't have to decide any of this now. I'm just trying to give you an overview of what you do need to know if you're thinking of divorce. At some point, you can decide if you're going to separate to nest in it, meaning your children would stay there, but you would come and go. You could sell it soon and split the proceeds. You could sell it later and decide how you're going to keep it up. One person could live in it for a time, but my caveat to you is don't think about keeping your house for the children. Meaning, if keeping your house is going to put financial constraints on you in a way that makes you anxious and overwhelmed, it's ultimately not in your children's best interest. So there's a lot to think about, but you don't have to decide it now. You just have to know that you can when you're ready. Because mostly what you want to do now is break free from your destructive patterns. Take a deep breath and think about your relationship. How dysfunctional has it become? How hurt are you that you're showing up angry? How scared are you that you're withholding being kind or present? How angry are you that you're being sad about but not talking about? So let's break free from dysfunctional patterns, get to your higher self, and then decide what you want to do. And when you do that, if you stay together, if you separate, if you legally separate, if you get divorced, you're still going to have to talk about what you're going to do as co-parents. And joint physical custody, joint legal custody with child support guidelines, but you need to have ongoing cooperation, which is why you need to heal the relationship before you decide what you're going to do. Because when you heal it, miracles happen. And if you can't, and if you have to separate or get divorced, make sure you have 2 loving homes with respectful parenting, and then a yearly review of the terms so that you make sure everybody's on the same page, included, and feels empowered. But for the sake of your children, do the healing now, and then decide what you want to do about a divorce. And this may be the sign you're looking for. This webinar right now, whenever you're looking at it, it's like, I hope I've given you some things to think about so that you can reach out and learn more. Because when you think about it, as Sam Keen said, it's not about finding a perfect person to love. It's learning how to perfectly love another imperfect person. And hopefully to find that person that's willing to love you with all of your imperfections. But either way, if you've been thinking of divorce, or if you help clients that are thinking of divorce, helping learn compassionate communication where you connect to your best self, let go of limiting beliefs, unburden pain from the past, and relate from your heart with empathy. With empathy. So you talk about how you feel in terms of those parts you exile, the sadness, the hurt, the fear. And you listen to your partner and understand that no matter what they're showing you, how aggressive they're being, how withholding they're being, they're hurt, sad, and scared too. And once you understand that and make an amend, say you're sorry for anything that you've done to hurt them, knowing that you want to create a new relationship, whatever form it takes in the future, and you are sorry for the ways you've hurt them. Watch what happens. Those 2 words, I'm sorry. And again, I know you've said you're sorry. I know you're the one that's always giving empathy. I know you're the one that's giving in first. This isn't giving in. This is opening your heart to starting over, whatever that looks like. And hopefully it'll look like a new and better relationship, whatever form it takes in the future. So you can get the information and support you need. If you're a therapist, coach, mediator, attorney, clergy, counselor, contact me. I have a training in the compassionate mediation process. And when you get that training, you can help your clients consider an ending, but then create a new beginning, whatever form it takes in the future. And if you're listening to this for your own benefit, I want you to feel confident that you have all of the tools, resources, information, and that you need to become an expert in conflict resolution so that divorce isn't your default choice because you don't know how to creatively, compassionately, connectedly, confidently, all those C words of self, resolve conflict in the highest good for all concerned. So if you go to lindakroll.com/empathy, I have a handout I use with all of my clients with a video showing you how to use that handout and speak for your parts, not from your parts, and listen, understand, and care, and then negotiate behavior changes in the future with the confidence to talk about the parts of you that have thought about leaving. Sometimes that's the way you get your partner's attention. Oftentimes in relationships, people fight and they withhold and they judge and they just think it's going to be that way forever. And they're never going to do anything about it. They'll just do it until one of them dies, until one of them decides I'm done, which is usually a few years before they actually say it. So say it sooner. So you really get your partner's attention, not in a way to create an ultimatum or a demand or a threat. Just say, I am so hurt or sad or scared in this relationship that I'm not sure I can go on. So we need to get some counseling. We need to create a new relationship, and we need to do it now. And then talk about everything with empathy. I want to thank Richard Schwartz and the whole internal family systems community. When I wrote the book, Compassionate Mediation, he said of it that divorce brings out the worst in us and often leaves lasting scars, that I am a master at lifting couples out of their narrow, protective perspectives. And they then learn the larger lesson from their relationships and proceed based on the best interest of all concerned, that this is relationship healing at its best. So if you want a free chapter of the book, go to lindakrollbook.com and you'll get a free chapter. It explains self in parts and a lot of what I'm talking about. And you can also get the book if you want, but the free chapter is available. There's also a Kindle book on compassionate divorce, because we can change the face of divorce one heart at a time. So let's start with your heart. Let's start with softening it, loving yourself enough to do your own healing, and then learning how to ask for what you truly want and need. Because once you remember what you want, instead of focusing on what you don't want, and you know you deserve what you want, instead of doubting that, then you learn how to ask for it, not demand it, not whine, not threaten, just ask. Be willing to receive and be grateful. So those are the 5 steps to get your needs met. And you can try those now. And if you're a professional, I have a free roadmap and video of the whole process that I'm talking about, with the ability to help people go from heartache to hope to healing and happiness. And you can go to lindakroll.com roadmap and get that. And then I can give you both the roadmap, which helps you be your best self and helps your clients learn how to be their best self, create a compassionate relationship, explore all their options before they make any decisions, understand their rights and finances, which is what's needed to create a new relationship, feel empowered, informed, and enlightened, and then create the relationship that you or your clients truly desire and deserve. So take a deep breath and think about what needs to happen next. Please let me know how I can support you. You can reach out to me. You can go to lindakroll.com/contact and send me a message. You can go to lindakroll.com empathy and get the empathy handout. You can go to lindakroll.com book. And there's also a relationship assessment, lindakroll.com/RA, which gives you a chance to take a look at your own relationship right now. How much in self are you? How confident you are in your decisions? What do you need to learn about your finances? And how motivated are you to do your own work to make changes? So any of those are available for you now. And also, please reach out to me in any time so that I can give you the benefit of my 35 years of experience. And I also want to offer you my Compassionate Communication Care Kit. That gives you an opportunity to find the guided meditation that I do with people to help them connect to their highest self, show compassion to their partner, and proceed on the best interests of all concerned, letting their parts know that you've got it. You've got a way to be calm and compassionate, clear, confident, courageous, and still stay connected to your partner, who may only be your co-parent in the future, but that's a big job. And you want to do it with as much respect and kindness as possible. So please let me know if you have any questions. I'm here to support you, and I appreciate your taking the time to be with me so that we could all be together and know that whatever you're thinking, if you're thinking, I'm thinking of divorce, what do I do? Number one, I'm here. I've got programs, I've got handouts, I still see private clients. So reach out to me. If you're a professional and you want to learn how to use this skill set with your clients, please reach out. I have trainings and I have a certification that's starting again soon. And if you go to the lindakroll.com roadmap, you'll get access to that. So you can find the blog, you can find the roadmap, and you can find a way to get your information and learn what I can share with you for my 35 years of experience. So again, let's take a deep breath. It's been 45 minutes. Thank you for spending the time with me. If you're watching the replay, just send me a message. I'm here to support you. And don't wait. Don't wait to learn these skills. Don't wait to learn a new way to communicate. With whatever's coming up, whatever holiday, whatever birthday, whatever event, don't suffer through it. Don't decide that you're going to close your heart, just show up, but secretly suffer. You don't have to suffer. I'm here to help you. I'm sending you a lot of love. A lot of information is available. And thank you again so much for being here. I look forward to connecting with you soon, and I'll talk to you again. Bye for now.